and plie, and frappe, pas de bourrée, assemble, brisé, and right hook, left hook. Anyway, little bedtime reading. The real breakthrough came in 1943 with the Triumph of Oklahoma, in which Agnes DeMille brought ballet, or ballet, wholesale, vite, vite, encore, encore, boom, 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 and one and two and three and four and one and two and three. Non, 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 ma chérie. Attendez, commence. Once again, da, pravda, пошли вместе. Один, два, три, пять, шесть, восемь. Oh, again, again, again. Practice, practice. Sorry, little histrionics. Yeah. The real breakthrough came in 1943 with the Triumph of Oklahoma, in which Agnes DeMille brought ballet wholesale onto the Broadway stage. In the following year, 12 out of the 21, let me repeat that, 12 out of the 21 musicals produced on Broadway had some kind of ballet number. And during the next 3.5 years, 46 included ballet, and 21 offered dream ballets. Dreamy, 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 dreamy. Some of staggering ineptitude. So the war years were the time when both ballet and psychoanalysis made their greatest impact on Broadway. That's interesting. The Kurt Weill and Ira Gershwin musical, Lady in the Dark, from a story by Moss Hart, was actually set on a psychoanalyst couch. Now there's an idea for Darcy to do. Not that I'm saying she's loopy, but this is a bit different from that Katherine Jenkins stuff. Yeah, on a psychoanalyst couch. Hollywood followed suit in due course. I've got to go Specsavers. These glasses are terrible. Hollywood followed suit in due course. Where are we? Lady in the Dark was made into a film by Mitchell Leeson in 1944 with Ginger Rogers. Loved Ginger. Starring and the Dream Ballet metamorphosed into a dream circus. Now, I love circuses. Remember I was telling you about that Harlequin stuff with Darcy twirling that baton? Anyway, into a circus. Alfred Hitchcock's Spellbound followed in 1945, and Ben Hecht's weird ballet-cum psychological thriller, Spectre of the Rose, there's another one, in 1946. Surrealism and magic surrealism, yeah, invaded the movies at the same time, not only with Dali and Spellbound. I used to love Salvador, but then it became a bit cliche. Anyway, with Dali and Spellbound, but also with the amazing films made by Albert Lewin and at MGM, the surrealist, or even the surrealist ballet danced by Astaire in Minnelli's 1945 Yolanda and the Thief. As Parker Tyler noted in his essay, Finding Freudianism Photogenic. Excuse me, that's gross, but better out than in, that's what I'd say. Save that one for later. Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. This was the most extravagantly avant-garde work within the limits of kitsch ever produced by the Freed unit. I believe that's Arthur Freed. It was choreographed by Eugene Loring. Right. Oh, we've got some nice photographs there. Singing in the Rain, look. There's Gene Kelly. And there's another one. And there's Sid Charisse's leg. And that lullaby on Broadway's got me audience. Anyway, let's get back to this interesting stuff here. Oh, the scene from Fred Astaire and the weird ballet Yolanda and the Thief. Where was it? Let's finish this off. Right, finish this off. It says, who drew on both Dali, and what was that? It was choreographed by Eugene Loring, who drew on both Dali and Cocteau. Cocteau's Beauty and the Beast for the Dream or Nightmare Ballet. You know, I could do some wonderful work with Darcy, seriously, with all this stuff. The commercial failure of Yolanda and the Thief was a setback to the neo-romantic tendency within the Freed unit. Astaire crisply observed that the whole idea was too much on the fantasy side, and it did not do too well. Minnelli's next musical for the Freed unit, The Pirate, I love The Pirate, Gene Kelly doing his own, up the fucking mast there on that rope and what have you with all those flames. Yeah, I love the pirate. Came 3 years later, and starring Kelly rather than Astaire, had a solid armature of vaudeville or even vaudeville influences. Loved all that. He was brilliant in that, Gene Kelly, vaudeville or burlesque. And Fairbanks athleticism. When the beat goes down the street, da-da, feeling in the heat. Ba-da-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da. That's the scene when he goes to Broad, singing in the rain, and he tries at one place and he goes into burlesque and he turns to vaudeville and he ends up with Ziegfeld Follies, and you see the evolution of the same song but how it refines itself. I love that. Anyway, vaudeville influences and Fairbanks athleticism. Yeah, they needed Gene Kelly for that. Fairbanks Jr. Right. The Pirate Ballet number is boisterous and acrobatic, ambiguously satirizing, and by adding what Kelly calls classic form, i.e., that is, balletic movements and references, paying homage to the swashbuckler. Now, the most memorable performers in the film are the Nicholas brothers. The Nicholas brothers, who give their usual stunning display of dance acrobatics in Be a Clown. Be a clown, be a clown. Da, 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 make 'em laugh. No, let's make 'em laugh, make 'em laugh. Make 'em laugh, be a clown. Anyway, Fayard Nicholas later commented on the subject of working with Kelly that we had to tone down for him. Although he told somebody that I was the only dancer who danced like him. Presumably, of reference to the style Fayard Nicholas called classical tap. When we tapped, we added a little ballet to it, plus a little eccentric character comedy, a little flash acrobatics, and we used our hands a great deal. With style and grace, we used the whole body from our heads down to our toes, and that's why we called our type of dancing classical tap. That's what it is, the lacing together of tap, balletic leaps and turns, and dazzling acrobatics. Like Astaire, whom they also greatly admired, the Nicholas brothers learned from the great syncopated rhythm dancer John Bubbles and eccentric dancer Ray Bolger, who of course played the Straw Man. Here we go, look. Best known as the Scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz. The founding film of the Freed Unit. This is brilliant. I'm going to read this later on. Anyway, hi Darcy. Singing in the rain, just singing